ID Cooling has been making CPU coolers for a long time, but their focus was entirely on the ultra-budget coolers. Now that the Frozn series is here, it seems that they're finally ready to tackle the mid-ranged and high-end market. The Frozn series comes with two coolers, the A720 and the A620. The A720 is a direct competitor to the Noctua NH-D15, however, our focus today is on the A620. The A620 is a dual-tower cooler that features 6 copper heat pipes that end on a nickel-plated copper base. ID Cooling is confident in the A620 and has rated it to handle 270 watts of heat. Although that is an impressive rating, I wouldn't recommend you overclocking an i9-14900KS on this cooler. However, the performance is incredibly promising, and the A620 can handle high-end CPUs like the i7-13700K or Ryzen 9 5950X with ease. Looking at the design, at first glance, you can mistake the Frozn A620 for the Deepcool AK620 because of how similar they look. In fact, I don't think the name A620 is in any way a coincidence. ID Cooling knows exactly what they're doing. Not only does the A620 look a lot like the AK620, there are a few things that it outright does much better than Deepcool. For starters, the A620 trims the design by making the heatsinks 120mm instead of 129mm on the AK620. This way, the 120mm fans are completely flush with the rest of the heatsink, giving the cooler a uniform look. Other than the length, ID Cooling also reduced the height of the cooler a bit to 154mm compared to the AK620's 160mm. They should have made the cooler a bit taller, as this leaves only about 36mm of RAM clearance, which means taller RAM kits will interfere with the outermost fan. Speaking of fans, ID Cooling improves over Deepcool's fan design with two 120mm fans that are much quieter. These fans have fluid dynamic bearings over their motor, which ensures they spin fast without making any sound, thus resulting in less noise at higher RPMs. The range for both fans varies between 500 to 2000 RPM. Even up until 1200 RPM, the fans are barely audible in an open-air bench. In a closed case, it's still near impossible to hear the fans up till 1500 RPM. It's only between 1700 to 2000 RPM when the fans become a bit noisy, but that's to be expected. Generally speaking, there aren't any bad budget CPU coolers. In fact, they put much more expensive CPU coolers to shame. Coolers like the Cooler Master Hyper 212 and Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 are incredible because of their ability to cool high TDP CPUs on a budget. However, while I am a fan of both of them, I feel that they miss out on some important elements that are way overdue for improvements. In trying to offer a decent product at a low price, some compromises are eventually made. Even the Deepcool AK620, which is one of my all-time favorite coolers, is guilty of this. The Frozn A620 fixes pretty much every complaint that I have with budget coolers. Compared to the A620, the AK620's fans are a bit noisier, and the uneven design becomes much more apparent when you put these two side to side. Even the color choice of the A620 reflects that a lot of careful thought went into it. The dark black tone of the A620 is also much more pleasing to look at compared to the shiny aluminum fins on the AK620. Finally, the price is what seals the deal. The Frozn A620 is nearly half the price of the AK620, which makes it a no-brainer. In conclusion, the budget CPU cooler market is finally seeing a great comeback. The ID Cooling Frozn A620 is a near-perfect CPU cooler for almost all situations, and with a price tag close to $40, it makes it one of the absolute best budget air coolers. To wrap it up, what I like is the top-notch cooling performance, the incredibly competitive price, and the silent fans. On the downside, tight RAM clearance. Ratings: Design and Aesthetics, 8.5 out of 10. Cooling Performance, 8.5 out of 10. Noise, 9 out of 10. Features, 7.5 out of 10. Value for money, 9.5 out of 10. For an overall rating of 9 out of 10. If you're serious about maximizing your gaming experience, there's so much more to explore. Check out more of my videos packed with suggestions and reviews to help you stay ahead in your PC building.